It must now be judged by outcomes, not longevity. Nigeria must shift from consumption to production, from centralization of power to true federalism, where devolution of power goes to the states and local governments, and from power without...
Hello and what's up, guys? In this video, El-Rufai has come out strongly against breaking Nigeria apart, and his words are already causing serious reaction across the country. He says Nigeria's problem is not separation but a system that looks federal on paper while power is trapped in Abuja. He warns that parties come and go. APC today may be gone by 2027, but real accountability never arrives. According to him, corruption is punished for some, ignored for others, and completely invisible if you are close to power. He points at over-centralization, saying states are blamed for failure but denied real authority and funds. He also talks about insecurity, where people now protect themselves, showing the state is losing control. Then comes the shocker. El-Rufai insists the solution is through federalism and devolution of powers, not disintegration. But many Nigerians, especially from the South and Middle Belt, say they are tired of false unity, daily fear, and endless excuses. They argue separation, not federalism, is the real answer. So the big question is, who is really telling the truth here? Guys, I will let you watch this video for yourself so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Take a look, guys, and remember to share your thoughts after watching.
The PDP governed for 16 years. The APC will not govern forever. It is likely that in 2027, the APC will be gone. Power therefore remains contestable. This distinguishes Nigeria from dominant party systems elsewhere on the continent, some of the countries that I've mentioned. However, and this is critical, competition has not yet matured into accountability and good governance. Elite circulation has outpaced institutional consolidation. Parties remain weak, personality-driven, and transactional. The fourth is selective economic and industrial gains. Nigeria has experienced episodic progress. There are years of growth driven by macroeconomic discipline and infrastructure investment. Nigeria became a net exporter of cement, thanks to Dangote and other cement manufacturers. The Dangote refinery positions us towards self-sufficiency in refined petroleum, petrochemicals, and fertilizer. Again, that is progress. These are not imaginary achievements. They demonstrate that democracy, when focused, can deliver, but they are uneven, fragile, and easily reversed. I will now go to what is not working. Now let us turn to clearly to what is clearly not working, and here a bit of candor is required. The first is we have governance without accountability. Nigeria has built the forms of accountability faster than in the substance. We conduct elections, create agencies, announce asset recoveries, but accountability by those governing remains selective and episodic. Corruption has become dangerous for some that are in opposition, negotiable for others that are sitting on the fence and want to move to the APC, and invisible for those aligned with power. APC members are never accused of corruption. This cost is not abstract. It appears in unpaid salaries, abandoned projects, decaying infrastructure, and widespread cynicism. When laws are enforced unevenly, deterrence collapses. And when deterrence collapses, trust evaporates. And this is what is happening in Nigeria today. The second thing that is not working is what I call centralization without capacity. Nigeria operates one of the most centralized fiscal systems among federations, yet expects states and local governments to deliver most frontline and critical services like primary education and healthcare. Authority, responsibility, and funding are badly misaligned. This is not an accident. It is a design flaw, one that contradicts the 1954 federal consensus for a loose federation with strong regions and a limited center that our founding fathers agreed in the UK. Since 1966, successive governments, military and civilian, have entrenched this unitary federalism. The result is predictable. Everyone looks up to Abuja for money, looks downwards for excuses, and sideways for scapegoats to blame. A system that centralizes power but diffuses responsibility will always fail by design. But by design means we can fix it. The third is insecurity and the breakdown of the social contract. Insecurity remains Nigeria's gravest crisis. Insurgency, banditry, kidnappings, and communal violence have displaced millions and devastated livelihoods. Despite rising security budgets, the state's monopoly of force has weakened. When citizens are compelled to organize their own protection, that is not resilience. It is a vote of no confidence in the Nigerian state. No republic can endure when security becomes a private commodity available only to those who can afford it. The fourth area that is not working is economic hardship and inequality. Nigeria may record GDP growth, and you will hear today from the government representative talking about over 4% projected GDP growth for 2026. But the lived reality is harsh and different from this rosy picture. Poverty remains widespread. Inflation, especially food inflation, has destroyed purchasing power. Policy shocks have accumulated without buffers. What distinguishes Nigeria is not hardship alone, but hardship without accountability, where citizens absorb every shock, while public officials and political office holders live extravagantly and with impunity. This breeds anger, and anger, when combined with frustration and hopelessness, is politically dangerous. The fifth area where things aren't working is law, justice, and democratic erosion. The law should protect citizens, not terrify them. Yet, we have seen in Nigeria prolonged detention, selective prosecution, and investigative fishing expeditions that have weakened confidence in the justice system. When law enforcement is weaponized against political competitors, democracy erodes quietly but steadily, and this is what we've seen happening in our country today. The courts remain the last refuge of anyone that feels persecuted. But when justice is doubted, when judges are compromised, the republic itself is weakened. What must change and must stop, I will go into now. Is the Fourth Republic, if the Fourth Republic is to move beyond mere survival, it must now be judged by outcomes, not longevity. Nigeria must shift from consumption to production, from centralization of power to true federalism, where devolution of power goes to the states and local governments, and from power without responsibility to authority matched with accountability. Specifically, Nigeria must end borrowing for recurrent expenditure and prioritize food security. We must reform the constitution and allow state and community policing. We must devolve resource control and economic authority to the states. For instance, mining and minerals should be devolved to the states because the states control land, among other things. We must also strengthen our institutions through judicial reform and ensure that we have credible elections through an truly independent electoral commission. We must invest seriously in health and education at the lowest levels. And finally, we must restore ethical and competent governance for our politics to have meaning. But reform is not only about what must change, it is also about what must stop. We must stop the weaponization of security agencies, law enforcement, regulatory institutions, and the justice system for regime protection rather than for democratic preservation. Selective enforcement of laws must end. Arrests without evidence must end. Detention before investigation must end. Governing by intimidation rather than institutions must end. So let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen, with this. Nigeria's Fourth Republic has bought us time, but time alone is not legacy. We have the architecture of democracy, but its foundation is cracking under the weight of insecurity, exclusion, and widespread economic hardship. History teaches us a hard lesson that when reform is postponed indefinitely, as we are seeing in Nigeria today, rupture and collapse eventually arrive. The choice before us as politicians is not stability, but reform. It is reform now or instability sooner or later. Nigerians are not lacking intelligence, patriotism, or resilience, so let us not blame Nigerians for the current state of affairs. What Nigerians lack is accountability, from those entrusted with power. And as opposition, we are not enemies of the state. We are the conscience of the people. We seek reform, renewal, and a democracy that delivers, not one that survives by coercion and selective persecution. I invite all those who wish Nigeria well to join us in restoring hope, dignity, and progress through reform, through progress, and societal consolidation, not repression, not selective persecution. Thank you very much. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I don't think that some of us intelligent Nigerians think. I don't think we have the capacity to comprehend for ourselves. I think we usually just regurgitate rubbish. We regurgitate what we've been hearing since childhood without really thinking. Federalism is a mode of government that combines the general government, the central or federal government, with regional governments, provincial, state, cantonal, territorial, or other sub-unit governments in a single political system dividing the powers between the two. Federalism is a system of government in which the same territory is controlled by two levels of government. Generally, an overarching national government is responsible for broader government of larger territorial areas, while a smaller subdivision, states and cities govern the issues of the concern. The problem is that some of you don't understand the origin of some of the things we say, or even of the country Nigeria. Nigeria is a business. Africa is a business. So the only way to start being a business is to use those who created it and change what they gave it. But some of you don't have the capacity to comprehend that. Now, federalism was created by the British. The reason there's a federal government is so that you can still control the resources of other people. Nigerians don't need that. The Northerners knew this well in 1953 and they did not want to be part of Nigeria, but we didn't listen. Niger Deltans said the same thing. We didn't listen. Southeast said the same thing. We didn't listen. Yoruba Nation said the same thing. We didn't listen. We went to Ghana for an agreement. We still didn't listen. What is wrong with us Nigerians? The solution to Nigeria is a disintegration. It's not federalism. Federalism has never worked. It did not work. And it will not work. There is no need letting other people just be controlled by a central government. Let people govern themselves, autonomous. Now they can choose who they want to join forces with and become a nation. Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali left the bigger entity created again by the West, ECOWAS, and formed their own. Now that is what it means to have your own solution to your own problem. Not holding on to the Eurocentric colonial views and systems that were forced upon you. Some of you don't even know the history of democracy in the United States, the one that they brought to you. In the 1630s, a group of freed white people decided to govern themselves by electing somebody and to come up with their own laws. Mind you, the land still belonged to the Native Americans and they had Africans who they had enslaved. Those two sets of people I just mentioned were not part of those who could vote. So the democracy they introduced to themselves was for just freed white people. People with the same thinking, religion, and region. It wasn't until 1870, over 200 years, more than 200 years, 140 years, that they amended the constitution the 15th time to say that black people could vote. It still took some other hundreds of years before black people's votes could actually count. But it's democracy, it's the thing they brought to you. So that democracy makes majority carry the vote. And as long as the majority will carry the vote, it will be a dogfight. Because people who have different religions, ways of living and doing things will always find a way to fight. That is the definition of divide and conquer. Let people disintegrate and govern themselves. They can now voluntarily choose to be governed together. They have to choose. People have to choose to be a part of Nigeria. Africa needs a complete reset. Our own is different from that of Ghana and Kenya. But at the end of the day, we need to remove colonial influence. True federalism is a colonial ideology.
So, the Sultan of Sokoto and the northern elders held a meeting and they declared that the unity of Nigeria is sacrosanct and that they are not in any way, they are not in support of the division of Nigeria. My message to the Sultan of Sokoto and those northern elders that held that meeting, that Nigeria's unity is not sacrosanct. Nigeria's unity is negotiable. You had the chance to unite this country, but you failed. You divided this country. You introduced hatred. You introduced segregation and division among the people. So you lack the local standing to call for unity of this country. You lack the moral rights to utter anything about unity of this country. I am Caleb Zadok. I am from the Middle Belt, and that is where my stand is. I support the disintegration of this country because as it is, this country has been running on dual identity, and we cannot continue to move like that. So Sultan and all the other northern elders that held that meeting, I would like to say you are on your own, because you are the ones that caused the problem of this country. You are the ones that stopped the progress of this country. You allowed terrorism to thrive. When you were needed, you couldn't do anything about it. So saying that Nigeria's unity is sacrosanct, it is nothing but fallacy. It is nothing but failure. You cannot stop what is coming. It is already too late. You have squandered every single goodwill that you have. So it is time up. Nigeria is ripe for division.
So the news has been online that a US senator is trying to propose a bill to the US Congress and to the office of the presidency, which is Donald Trump-led administration, to say that what is going to bring peace, that the issues that is the title killing of Christians in Nigeria, what is going to bring everlasting peace to that issue is to divide Nigeria. The first time an international community, a country like USA, under this administration of Donald Trump, someone is proposing to disintegrate Nigeria as a country. And now I find out that it has been online that the northern elders are saying that they gang up themselves, they come together in one voice, say that what US is saying is Arab nonsense. It cannot happen. That they cannot divide Nigeria. Nigeria must live as one. That nobody can displace the Fulanis. That was what the northern elders are saying. So these same northern elders, when the issue of X-Men and banditry and Boko Haram, the former president of Nigeria, late Muhammadu Buhari, came out to say that they are our misguided brothers. I was not the one who said it. He said, and I quote allegedly, he said that the X-Men and the bandits, they are our misguided brothers. Rather, they further ahead to grant them amnesty, like a peace talk, and recruit some of them into the Nigerian military. This happened in Nigeria under the past administration by late Muhammadu Buhari. Now, the northern leaders are coming out to say that nobody can displace the Fulanis, because this US senator is saying that our brother in Christ in Nigeria are facing persecution, that they must be saved. By otherwise, whether through political way, they must be saved. Mind you, before this issue of Trump coming to bomb Nigeria, it was first said by Pope Leo in Rome that the killings in Nigeria must stop. And never forget that Pope is an American man. And Donald Trump said that the US is going to use military action against Nigeria. And he did it on Christmas Day. So if you think that if Donald Trump and his administration open their book to say that the best way to go is to call for a referendum to disintegrate Nigeria, and you think they are joking, they will do it. Let me tell you what led to this. When Muhammadu Buhari left office, it handed over power to the present president now, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. When Tinubu came, Tinubu continued from where Muhammadu Buhari stopped, putting deft ear that he doesn't know that there's insecurity in the country until the US came to bomb Sokoto State. I don't know, it's Borno, Sokoto State. Then Tinubu started giving Nigeria Air Force, Nigeria Army go ahead to start bombing wherever they want to bomb. Mindly, they gang up to remove the present Minister of Defense, the first general to become a minister. They gang up to remove him as a general because he said one word: any criminal you saw, any criminal you see, don't wait for order, shoot aside. And the northern leaders came and gang up and pressured the presidency to remove him, and they retire him. After America now opened the book of Nigeria, then this same administration now brought him back as Minister of Defense. Look, if to disintegrate Nigeria is the best way to go, those of you who are saying that it cannot happen, remember this was exactly what caused the Civil War in 1967. Because when they went to Aburi to discuss whatever they discussed, to agree and sign, what is this man's name? Gowon. Yakubu Gowon disagreeing that he is not going to sign that document. That was why Ojukwu declared the state of Biafra, said that we are not going to be part of this nonsense. And the nonsense is what is still happening now. If you agree that disintegrating Nigeria is the best way to go, drop your comment below and like this video. Thank you very much.